My older brother is our family, so he can stay in this house as it is, but you're just a parasite, right? It's bad for the unborn child to have a parasite in the house, so leave. My sister-in-law, who has been harassing me all along, demanded that I leave my husband's parents' house. I often wonder how she was raised to have such a constant flow of sarcastic words toward me, showering me with harsh words. At that moment, my husband said to his parents with a laugh, "Dad, Mom, she's right." I agreed, saying, "Well, it can't be helped." Sigh. My sister-in-law stood there with her mouth wide open. The truth she will learn later is that my name is Grace, I'm 30 years old, and I've been married to Liam, who is the same age as me, for 4 years. I work as a freelance video director, while Liam is a corporate employee at a large company. I had the opportunity to create image videos as part of Liam's company's business, and that's how we met. Currently, Liam and I are living with my husband's parents in their house. In the house, there is my husband's father and my husband's father's father, who is my grandfather-in-law. The family house was originally built by my grandfather-in-law, and my husband's parents used to live there. My husband's grandmother passed away before Liam and I got married. The reason for living together was that my grandfather-in-law needed care. My grandfather-in-law is 85 years old and still very energetic. His hobby is playing Go, a board game. Even after returning his driver's license, he used to ride his bicycle to attend Go gatherings. However, he fell on his way there and fractured his hip. As a result, he became physically disabled and required care. We assumed that my husband's parents would take care of my grandfather-in-law. However, they are self-employed and said they don't have time for that. Therefore, it was decided that my grandfather-in-law would move into a facility. My grandfather-in-law is understanding and agreed to move into the facility. However, it seems that my grandfather-in-law accidentally mentioned to Liam, his beloved grandson, "I actually want to stay in this house, where I have many memories." In fact, Liam has always loved his grandparents. The reason is that my husband's parents tended to favor Liam's younger sister, Lucy, and were cold towards Liam. They used to tell Liam, "You're the older brother, so be patient." It seems they would organize birthday parties and give gifts to Lucy. But Liam didn't receive the same treatment. Feeling sorry for Liam in such a situation, his grandparents treated him like their own child. Liam often talks with a wry smile, saying, "If it weren't for my grandpa and grandma, I might have turned out differently." Given the circumstances, Liam came to me in tears to discuss something. "I want to live with him, for the sake of Grandpa. But I can't easily take time off from work." "Of course, I don't mean to imply that it's easy for you to do it because of your job. But, somehow, could you take the lead in caregiving? I'll do my best too." I loved Liam for his kindness and compassion. He has never done anything to hurt me. And I knew that Liam loves his grandparents. I wanted to fulfill the wish of the beloved Liam, so I agreed to live together. However, problems arose immediately after we started living together. Hearing mine and Liam's annual income, my parents-in-law said, "You two have an amazing combined income." They both quit their cell-phone business. I was shocked. "But, mother-in-law, I have to take care of Grandpa, so I've been cutting back on work. I don't want you to solely rely on our money." When I said that, my parents-in-law turned cold instantly. My father-in-law said, "It's shameless for a daughter-in-law to voice her opinions to her husband's parents, especially when she's living under our roof." He spoke coldly. My mother-in-law added, "That's right. Being a freelancer is an unstable occupation, which is your fault in the first place. Even with caregiving, it doesn't change. It's your responsibility that you have to maintain income. It's none of our concern." When Liam protested just like I did, my father-in-law shouted, "Don't act so high and mighty, since we've been raising you. Think of it as repaying the favor." After that, they refused to listen to anything we said. The days of living together were extremely difficult for me. My in-laws, who originally said, "We don't want to do caregiving," didn't help with the care of my grandfather-in-law at all. On top of that, they didn't do any household chores and spent money only on their hobbies. They were also constantly asking my husband and me for money. Furthermore, it wasn't just my in-laws who caused me distress. My sister-in-law, Lucy, frequently came to our house to hang out. My mother-in-law said, "Grace, why aren't you offering any juice or snacks to Lucy? What are you doing? You really don't pay attention, do you?" She instructed me to entertain Lucy. Furthermore, it seems Lucy has an extreme brother complex and loves Liam. Because of that, she always takes a harsh attitude towards me. "Oh, there you are, Grace. Still with that dull face and attire. I can't understand why my brother chose someone like you. He said, you're a film director, but that means you work from home, right? It may sound cool to say working from home, but it just means you're a socially awkward misfit who couldn't go out into the world," Lucy said to me. I wonder how she was raised to constantly putting others down with those terrible words. Every time Liam witnesses her making such remarks, he scolds Lucy, but it has no effect at all. "Why did my brother marry such a socially awkward and gloomy woman like you? He had a cute sister like me right beside him, yet he failed to develop an eye for women. What a shame for my brother," she says with a laugh. Moreover, even my in-laws, who were listening, joined in and laughed together. My mother-in-law said, Now, Lucy. Even if it's the truth, you shouldn't say it out loud." And my father-in-law joined them saying, "That's right. Even if there are plenty of things to make fun of, there's no end if we start saying them one by one." He spoke in a tone that seemed like he was supporting them and mocking me. Furthermore, it seems that Lucy is pregnant. Regarding that as well, I am subjected to sarcastic remarks. When Lucy says, "After all, it's been 4 years since you guys got married, and still no children," my mother-in-law continues, "That's absolutely true. I remember hearing her say, she prioritizes work for now, but in the end, being married and giving birth to children is a woman's most important job. She's nothing but defective goods." She said it loud enough for me to hear. I want to leave this house. I can't even count how many times I've thought that. However, Liam always stands up for me and gets angry at my in-laws and Lucy. Moreover, Liam also works and is tired, but he says, "Grace, you must be tired from caregiving. Take a break for a while, I'll take over." He gives me time to sleep and takes care of the caregiving tasks and household chores that I couldn't manage. Watching Liam like this, I couldn't bring myself to say that I wanted to leave this house. Besides, I couldn't leave my grandfather-in-law behind, I thought. In this stress-filled life, the only healing time for me during the day, when Liam is not around, is having a long conversation with my grandfather-in-law. My grandfather-in-law is a very kind person, as Liam used to say he loves him so much. Unfortunately, he became unable to walk due to a bicycle accident. But his mind is very sharp. Being experienced, he shared many stories that were enlightening for work and taught me valuable lessons, as well as stories from Liam's childhood. Liam had a kind personality since he was a child, and there were many heartwarming stories. However, on a day when Lucy visited as usual, I was showered with cruel words from Lucy and my in-laws, and I felt like my mental state was collapsing. Furthermore, the harsh words from my in-laws and Lucy were not only directed at me. While I was caregiving for my grandfather-in-law, I could hear my mother-in-law from the next room, saying in a loud voice, "It's shameless, isn't it? Wanting to be cared for at home. There's nothing more troublesome than an elderly person's selfishness." Lucy also said, "That's true. I heard that. Grandpa's in bad health condition, so I thought I could have his room." And laughed. I was hurt by the words directed at me, but it was even more painful to hear such words spoken to my kind-hearted grandfather-in-law. Seeing my face trembling with anger, my grandfather-in-law smiled and said, "Grace, forget about me." Tears started flowing uncontrollably from my eyes. I had tried to maintain a calm demeanor in front of my grandfather-in-law, but tears would flow without me realizing. My grandfather-in-law never asked, "What's wrong?" Instead, he gently said to me, "I'm sorry, Grace. I've caused you a lot of pain. But could you endure it a little longer? I'm sure everything will be fine." Then he shared a story with me. 3 months later, Lucy came to the house for her childbirth. And as soon as she put her belongings in the living room, she suddenly turned to me and said, "Well, Grace, I, the real daughter, have returned home, so you, a stranger, should leave." I asked Lucy, "What do you mean?" Then Lucy started speaking proudly. "I've heard from my parents. Grace, you're using Grandpa's caregiving as an excuse to not work and begging my parents for money. My parents said they finally closed the shop and could relax because they had enough money for retirement, but you're causing them trouble by parasitizing here. My brother can stay in this house because he's our family, but you're just a parasite. Having a parasite in the house is bad for the baby in my belly, so leave." While Lucy was talking, I could see my in-laws in a flustered state. Then, Liam burst into laughter next to me. And Liam said to my in-laws, "Come on, Dad, Mom." And I followed, saying, "If Lucy says so, I guess there's no choice." Lucy had a puzzled look on her face and said, "Huh?" While facing my in-laws, Liam said, "I was actually planning to ask the parasite to leave too. Hurry up and pack your things. I've endured thinking of these people as family, but I've reached my limit." My father-in-law, confused, responded, "What are you suddenly talking about?" Unable to grasp the situation, Lucy asked my in-laws, "What's going on?" Taking the place of my in-laws, I decided to explain to Lucy. I told her that since we started living together, my in-laws closed their shop to rely on our money, that they had almost no savings, and were living a luxurious life using our money, and that until now, my in-laws had been giving Lucy pocket money and assisting with living expenses, but it was actually our money. I wanted Lucy to understand the fact that the real parasites were my in-laws. Lucy exclaimed, "Huh? Wait, so you're saying the story about having enough money for retirement and closing the shop was a lie? And that you're saying Grace and Liam have been demanding money from our mothers?" Confused and firing off questions, Lucy was trying to make sense of it all. Liam coldly responded, "It's obvious that it's all lies. Not only are my parents despicable, but you're also despicable for believing those stories and harassing Grace every time you meet. I don't want to see any of you." When Liam turned to his parents and said, "Just leave already," Liam's father replied, "No matter how much you've helped us financially, until now, this is my father's house. In other words, it's the same as my house. You don't have the right to kick us out." In response, Liam calmly answered, "What are you talking about? Grandpa changed the ownership to my name, so it's mine." In fact, this was one of the stories where Liam's grandfather had asked him to wait a little longer. Liam's grandfather decided to abandon his son and daughter-in-law, who made hurtful remarks to the couple he had cared for, without doing anything for himself. The grandfather conveyed his feelings to Liam, saying, "Your life belongs to you, so I won't force you, but if you're willing, please continue to protect this house." Liam informed his parents about the exchange with his grandfather, and the transfer of ownership. Hearing this, his parents had shocked expressions. However, they still clung on. It was clear that they would be left with nothing if they were to leave. His parents were desperate as well. But Liam let out a sigh, and added, "If you refuse to leave, we'll have to seek compensation, you know?" In fact, following the advice of his grandfather, Liam had been secretly recording the incidents of his parents and Lucy's emotional abuse. The lawyer whom his grandfather had a close relationship with listened to the recordings and confidently said, "You can claim compensation for damages." This was the second story of what Liam's grandfather had told me. He said, "Since I can't install recording devices or surveillance cameras, can I ask you for a favor? I will also introduce you to a lawyer whom I've known for a long time. If they refuse to leave, you can tell them that you will claim compensation based on the recorded evidence." Hearing that their conversations had been recorded, Liam's parents turned pale. They must have been aware that their remarks qualified as emotional abuse. Recording something like that. And demanding compensation. Even though we're family. His mother's voice sounded sad, as if she were attempting to evoke sympathy. But it was too late. Liam stated, "It's either you leave, or pay compensation." By the way, Grandpa also plans to claim compensation, so it's for both of them. And Grace intends to demand compensation, not only from Dad and Mom, but also from Lucy. In the end, Liam's parents, judging it impossible to pay such compensation, agreed to leave the house with drooping shoulders. They appeared completely stunned, as if they had forgotten about Lucy's presence, and unsteadily returned to their own room. Addressing Lucy, who was left behind, Liam said, "So, what will you do? We have important jobs, and can't afford to take care of a child. We'll let you use the room, but raise the child on your own. It would be a bad influence for a child to see the mother depend on her older brother and sister-in-law." Lucy, unable to respond to her words bouncing back like a giant boomerang, quietly left without saying anything. It seems that in the end, Lucy ended up taking care of the child in the small apartment where Liam's parents moved in. However, Liam's parents started working as senior employees for their living expenses, leaving Lucy to handle the parenting alone. I had wondered what happened to Lucy's husband, but it turns out that he couldn't bear Lucy's habitual emotional abuse. During Lucy's pregnancy, he filed for divorce, and they are currently in the process of divorce mediation. I couldn't help but be astonished that she treated even her husband that way. Afterwards, the three of us, my husband, my grandfather, and I, have been enjoying peaceful days. I have grown accustomed to caregiving more than before, and I no longer need to endure the stress from my in-laws or Lucy. I work during the intervals of caregiving and have increased my work pace, so my income has reached a level similar to before. Liam seems delighted that he was able to protect his grandfather's house. IHE said, "It seems that for my parents, Mr. was more important. It's the same for me, my grandfather was more important than my parents." And he showed me slightly lonely yet refreshed expression. We plan to continue living happily together. Since our lives have settled down, my husband and I have started discussing the possibility of having children. I look forward to the day when my grandfather can hold his great-grandchild.